Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are strapping in for a journey that forces us to question, well, pretty much everything we thought we knew about physics, history, and humanity's place in the cosmos.
That's right.
We are embarking on a massive deep dive into Lou Sixson's phenomenal work of science fiction, The Three-Body Problem.
And it's really more than just a novel. It's become this huge cultural phenomenon, right? A foundational text for modern hard sci-fi.
Absolutely.
It mixes these like extreme astrophysical concepts with really deep historical trauma. And it creates this survival story that's, well, unlike anything else. It asks these fundamental questions about civilization, about trust, and maybe most critically, about the inherent moral value of us, of the human species, when we're faced with, an absolute existential threat.
That blend, the history and the super advanced science, that's exactly what makes it so compelling, I think.
Yeah.
This book kicks off the huge Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy. And our mission today, it's really tailored specifically for you listening. We're going to extract the core knowledge.
The essentials.
Yeah, the physics, the tech, the philosophy that really drives this whole narrative.
Yeah.
We need to clearly map out the chaotic, dying alien homeworld.
Trisolaran.
Understand the physics behind this, invisible high-tech threat that's already here on Earth.
The Sophons.
And really analyze that deep moral split, the schism that divides humanity, and frankly, threatens to just hand the planet over to the invaders.
And to really get the stakes, you have to accept that this whole cosmic catastrophe, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't some exploratory mission gone wrong.
No.
It was an intentional act. An act of betrayal, really rooted in just immense human suffering.
We absolutely have to start there. Let's unpack that historical moment, that painful decision that basically put a giant target on Earth's back. So the story kicks off not with, telescopes or spaceships, but right in the middle of the turmoil of mid-20th century China, specifically the Cultural Revolution. And this setting is just absolutely crucial. It sets up the psychological conditions, really, for humanity's first catastrophic misstep. We're thrown into this period of extreme political violence, ideological purges.
Or even scientific objectivity. Basic science was seen as an enemy of the state, a class enemy. It's intense.
Right. And this political environment, it's the inescapable crucible, as you said, that forges the character Yi Wenji.
Mm-hmm. She's this brilliant young astrophysicist. But the opening, it just hits you. You witness her own father, a respected physics professor, publicly denounced, beaten, killed by Red Guards, and his crime. Basically defending Einstein's theory of relativity, teaching objective science instead of just political dogma.
It's horrific.
It's not just a personal tragedy, though it is that. It's like this profound institutionalized rejection of reason itself. And a basic humanity.
It's the ultimate trauma, isn't it? Seeing the very foundations of knowledge of family just crushed by ideological fervor.
Yeah.
And the violence is so personal, but it also reflects this massive societal breakdown. So the question we have to ask is, how does that kind of profound despair lead someone, a brilliant scientist no less, to ultimately invite total catastrophe?
Well, the answer really lies in her loss of faith. It becomes absolute. Yet Wenji isn't just sad or angry. She becomes completely convinced that humanity is inherently flawed.
Irredeemable.
Irredeemably cruel, yeah. Fundamentally incapable of creating anything peaceful or sustainable. She gets to this point of just total cynical surrender. She thinks the human species is basically a virus on the planet, destined only to destroy itself and everything else. And she comes to believe that only some external, maybe superior, maybe brutally rational force could possibly intervene and impose some kind of order.
So this breaking point, psychologically, leads directly to her work assignment.
Exactly. Because she's politically tainted by her father's crimes, she gets exiled, essentially. Sent to this remote, top-secret military base called Red Coast Base.
Okay. And what was Red Coast Base really for?
Well, outwardly, it was disguised, like a radar station communications facility. But its real purpose was astronomical. It was built to search for and potentially communicate with extraterrestrial intelligence. SETI, basically, but state-sponsored and top secret.
And Yi Wenji's expertise made her perfect for this.
Invaluable.
Yeah.
She figures out this way to amplify radio waves, using the sun, actually, to send a really powerful, coherent signal way, way beyond our solar system, making contact not just possible, but pretty likely.
And this is where it happens, the fateful moment. The sources describe her actually getting a reply From a planet 4.2 light years away, Trisolaris.
Yes, but crucially, it wasn't a hello, it was a warning.
A desperate one, right, from a pacifist Trisolaran.
Exactly. Someone on their side who saw the danger, begging Earth, essentially.
Right.
Do not answer this message.
Wow.
The message explicitly says, if you reply, we will find you, we will invade.
Yeah.
Because our civilization is dying, we're desperate, we can't ignore a world like yours.
And you, NG.
She gets this message, this clear warning. But she's so disgusted with humanity, so convinced we deserve destruction. She ignores it.
She sees the invasion as what? A cleansing.
Pretty much. Necessary. So she deliberately, consciously transmits a powerful reply, sends data about Earth, our location, our civilization, basically rolls out the welcome mat for colonization or conquest.
So the root of this whole cosmic war isn't really alien aggression in the classic sense. It's human self-hatred.
Deep-seated ideological despair, yeah. Born from very specific historical cruelty. Wenji's act ties this huge cosmic threat right back to human trauma.
She genuinely believes she's saving the world from itself, even if it means wiping out her own species.
It's a chilling calculation, and that choice, based on this idea that humans have basically forfeited their right to survive, sets in motion an invasion fleet that's going to fundamentally change everything.
Okay, let's pivot now. Let's talk about the recipients of that message, the Trisolarans. Because one of the brilliant things about the book is that the aliens aren't just, mustache-twirling villains.
Not at all.
Their motivation is pure, terrifying desperation. And it's dictated entirely by physics. Impossible physics. We need to get into the three-body problem itself.
Right. This is where the hard science part of the sci-fi really kicks in. Trisolaris, the planet, orbits 3 suns, not one, a tri-solar system.
Hence the name.
Exactly. The three-body problem is this classic headache in orbital mechanics.
Yeah.
Figuring out the path of one body around another, like Earth around our sun, predictable, stable.
Newton figured that out.
Right. But add a third massive body into the mix, and suddenly the gravitational interactions become chaotic, non-repeating. Mathematically, you just can't predict it long term.
So imagine living on a world where the basic laws of day and night, seasons, orbits, they're completely random. What does that actually do to life, to civilization?
It means the environment is defined by radical, sudden instability. Trisolaran history isn't measured in stable millennia like ours. It's measured in cycles of sudden total destruction. Yeah, they categorize them as Aratham periods and chaos periods. An Aratham period is when, just by chance, the suns fall into a temporarily stable configuration. Maybe 2 line up or 1 flies far off. You get a brief window, decades, maybe centuries of relative stability. Life can emerge, civilization can flourish.
But the chaos periods, that's the default state.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And they define Trisolaran existence. A chaos period can start literally without warning, instantly.
What happens, like physically?
It's described as this geological and atmospheric nightmare. Sometimes maybe 2 or all 3 suns swing close to the planet.
Oh, wow.
Massive gravitational pull, scorching heat. The atmosphere could literally boil away. Oceans vaporize. Total inferno.
And the opposite.
The opposite is just as bad. All 3 suns might suddenly fly far away due to their gravitational dance, plunging the world into absolute, instantaneous cold.
Freezing the air.
Freezing the air solid, yeah. Covering the surface in layers of deadly solid gases. It's extreme.
So it's like hitting a planetary reset button over and over. Civilizations rise, maybe reach incredible technological heights.
Only to be completely wiped out, maybe hundreds of times.
Def.
That kind of history has to create a unique way of thinking, a unique society.
Definitely. How did they even survive that?
Well, they developed some incredible, purely survival-focused adaptations and technologies. The most famous one is their ability to dehydrate.
Dehydrate, like physically.
Yeah. They realized stability was always temporary. So the Trisolarans evolved or developed the tech to expel almost all the water from their bodies.
What does that do?
It reduces them to these thin, dry sheets, almost like parchment paper. These dehydrated forms can survive the extreme heat or cold of the chaos periods. Their light can be blown by the wind, stored in massive underground bunkers.
Like seeds waiting for spring.
Exactly. And then, when an Aratham period does return and things stabilize for a bit, they rehydrate using water, assuming they can find any, and try to rebuild civilization from scratch, using the knowledge stored somehow in those parchment bodies.
That constant cycle. Rise, total destruction, dehydrate, rehydrate, rebuild, repeat. It must be utterly exhausting.
It defines them. Their entire culture revolves around trying to predict the unpredictable movements of their suns, a task that always, eventually, fails. Their society values radical pragmatism above all else,
Art philosophy.
only if it directly helps survival. Intellectual pursuits are judged purely by their utility in predicting the next chaos period or surviving it.
So when they get UNG's message, confirming a stable planet exists, 1 star, predictable seasons, liquid water.
Earth must seem like an absolute, unbelievable paradise.
Yeah.
A miracle. They finally see a way to break that horrific cycle of destruction.
So their drive to invade, it's not malice. It's not imperialism in the way we usually think of it.
It's pure necessity. Migration driven by environmental physics. They're fleeing a doomed world.
They see Earth as their only chance.
It's a zero-sum game in their minds. Either their civilization finally finds stability and survives, or humanity's civilization continues and theirs eventually dies for good.
And that raises that huge moral question Lucickson puts right in front of you. Who has the greater right to survive? The current occupants of the stable home, or the refugees facing certain extinction?
Right. The Trisolarans aren't inherently evil in some cosmic sense. They're desperate survivors fleeing a physical hellscape.
And that desperation, that fundamental need for a stable place to live, it just overrides everything else. Any potential thoughts about peaceful contact, cooperation?
Out the window. They saw a resource, a habitable planet, and their calculation, their brutally pragmatic calculation, was that conquest was the only logical path to ensure their own future.
Okay, so the invasion fleet launches this massive armada, but we know from the physics the journey takes centuries, a long time.
About 450 years, yeah.
But the book pivots pretty quickly to modern-day Earth to show us that the crisis isn't 450 years away. It's already happening right now.
Exactly. And the main character in this timeline is Wang Miao. He's a nanomaterial scientist in China.
Pretty grounded guy, right? Practical scientist.
Yeah, which makes his entry into all the weirdness that starts happening even more jarring. He gets pulled into this disturbing global mystery.
The scientist's deaths.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Leading scientists, especially in really fundamental fields like high-energy physics, they're dying. Suicides, mostly. Or under very strange circumstances.
And leaving behind these cryptic messages.
Physics is a lie. That terrifying phrase. Which is designed, to just completely shatter human confidence.
Because if physics is a lie, then everything built on it, technology, defense, understanding the universe, it all falls apart.
Right. And Wang Miao experiences this chaos directly. He starts seeing this impossible countdown in his vision. It's like projected onto his retina somehow, counting down to 0.
That would be terrifying.
And at the same time, his own meticulous experiments, his nanomaterials, research stuff that needs incredible precision, it starts going haywire, giving completely random, nonsensical results.
So it's a two-pronged attack, psychological and messing with actual science.
Exactly. Designed to paralyze him, and by extension, the whole scientific community.
His investigation into this puts him in touch with Detective Xing.
Yeah, Shi Qing.
Huh?
Dashi. He's this great character, blunt, cynical, very street smart. He provides the necessary sort of boots-on-the-ground perspective for this really high-concept mystery.
A bit of reality checking.
Definitely. And their partnership eventually leads Wang to this crucial piece of the puzzle, a super sophisticated virtual reality game called 3-Body.
The game. Okay, tell us about that.
It's incredibly realistic. It simulates life on Trisolaris, the rise and fall of civilizations based on those chaotic sun movements.
So players experience the chaos periods.
They do. The game forces players, who are often recruited from Earth's intellectual elite, to constantly try and figure out the patterns, predict the erratum and chaos periods. And of course, they always fail.
Yeah.
Because it's inherently unpredictable.
It sounds like a brilliant narrative device, but what's its purpose in the story?
It's not just a game. It's the main recruitment tool for the ETO, the Earth Trisolaris organization.
Ah, the collaborators.
Right. By forcing these smart people to experience the sheer horror and desperation of Trisolaran life again and again.
It builds sympathy, loyalty.
Exactly. And a shared belief, for some, that maybe the Trisolarans do deserve Earth more than humans, who are messing it up anyway. It's an ideological filter, testing psychological resilience, moral allegiance.
Finding people who are already disillusioned with humanity?
Pretty much. Those who really empathize with Trisolaran desperation become prime candidates for the ETO.
Okay, so this leads Wang and Xicheng to the core of the immediate crisis. They confirm the invasion is real, the fleet is coming, but the real chilling discovery is about the threat that's already here, sent ahead of the fleet.
Yes. the Sophons. We absolutely have to spend time on these. They are the key.
What are they?
They are the ultimate expression of Trisolaran tech superiority, and there is a key to neutralizing human defenses before the fleet even gets here. They're described as subatomic supercomputers.
Subatomic. Like smaller than an atom.
Smaller. They start with a single proton, a fundamental particle, and then using energy levels we can barely conceive of, they unfold.
Unfold? A proton? How does that even work?
Well, the book explains it using dimensional engineering. Think of the proton in its normal state as existing in 3 spatial dimensions, right? Tiny little sphere.
Okay.
They somehow use massive energy to unfold those higher dimensions down into lower ones. So they take the proton and effectively flatten it out into a 2-dimensional plane.
Like a sheet of paper.
Essentially. But a sheet of paper that contains the mass and energy of a proton and is unfolded to be enormous, like the surface area of a planet.
A proton unfolded to the size of a planet. That's hard to wrap your head around.
Completely. And then on this massive 2D surface, they etch circuits. Unbelievably complex circuits using quantum-level manipulation. This is the supercomputer part.
So the computer is the unfolded proton surface.
Yes. Once the circuitry and operating system are installed, they fold it all back up, compressing that planet-sized circuit board back down into the 3-dimensional form of a single proton.
And they made how many?
They made 4 and sent them to Earth at near light speed.
Yeah.
They arrived very quickly.
And their purpose, it's twofold.
Exactly. And this is what makes them so devastating. First function, sabotage. Specifically, scientific sabotage.
How?
Because they are fundamental particles, they can go anywhere, including inside our particle accelerators, like the LHC at CERN or any similar facility.
It just messed things up.
Precisely. They can insert themselves into high-energy experiments, manipulate the results of particle collisions, make them random, nonsensical, contradictory. They corrupt the data at the source.
So every time scientists try to probe the fundamental laws of physics?
They get garbage results, unreliable data, which means you can't make progress. They specifically target the fields, quantum mechanics, particle physics that you would need to develop advanced defenses, new propulsion, new weapons, energy shields. All that stuff becomes impossible to research.
They literally make physics a lie for experimentalists.
That's the goal. Halt human technological progress dead in its tracks for 450 years.
Okay, that's function 1. What's the second?
Monitoring.
Right.
Surveillance. Because these Sophons are intelligent, mobile protons, they can observe everything.
Everywhere.
Pretty much. They can travel anywhere on Earth instantaneously, perceive things at a quantum level, and transmit images, data, conversations. Everything back to the Trisolaran fleet in real time, using quantum entanglement.
No secrets.
No secrets whatsoever. Every military plan, every scientific discussion, every classified document, the Trisolarans know about it the instant it happens.
The countdown Wang Miao saw? That was a Sophon.
Likely, a direct visual display of their power, a psychological weapon to show the scientific elite, we are here, we see you, you can't hide. The enemy is literally in the room listening. Oh,
What profoundly chilling. Humanity has centuries, but it's time doesn't matter if you can't use it effectively.
Exactly. The Sophons create this ultimate psychological and tactical barrier. We know what they're planning, they know exactly what we're planning, and they can ensure we never develop the tools to fight back before their main force arrives.
Yeah. So the Sophons are this incredible external technological threat. But maybe the most immediate poisonous threat comes from within humanity itself.
Yeah, the ETO. The Earth Trisolaris Organization.
We need to trace its origins. It goes back to Yi Wenji, right? After her big act at Red Coast Base, she doesn't just disappear.
No, years later, she eventually connects with and teams up with a very wealthy, powerful co-conspirator.
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans. And he represents this kind of parallel disillusionment. He wasn't traumatized by political violence like Yi Wenji. He was the heir to a huge oil fortune.
Oh.
But he became absolutely horrified by humanity's impact on the environment, especially things like whaling, the destruction of ecosystems. He poured his fortune into environmental causes, trying to protect species.
But he came to the same conclusion as Yi Wenji.
Essentially, yeah. He decided humanity was just a destructive force, a plague on the planet, and needed to be managed or removed. He brought massive financial resources and this really intense, almost religious misanthropy to the table.
So Yi Wenji's political despair meets Evans's environmental despair.
And together, they formed the ETO, an organization explicitly dedicated to helping the Trisolarans, preparing for their arrival, assisting the invasion, viewing them as like saviors for the biosphere, if not for humanity itself.
But this organization, this group of human collaborators, It wasn't unified, was it?
Not at all. That's crucial. It immediately fractured, split into different factions based on why they supported the Trisolarans and what they thought should happen. Two main groups, really, with fundamentally opposed ideas about humanity's fate.
Okay, let's break those down. Faction 1, the Adventists. What was their deal?
The name says it all, right? They are awaiting the advent of the Trisolarans. Their core belief comes straight from Yi Wenji and Mike Evans's core despair.
Humanity is evil.
Fundamentally flawed, yeah. Beyond redemption. So they don't just accept the invasion, they welcome it. They see the Trisolarans as a necessary cleansing force.
Yeah.
They want the conquest to happen, and they want it to be total.
Were they just waiting around or actively helping?
Oh, actively helping. The Adventists were saboteurs. They used their knowledge, their resources, Evans' money, to systematically undermine human society from within.
How?
Funding instability, spreading anti-science propaganda, maybe even acts of terrorism or destroying infrastructure. Anything to weaken humanity, make it chaotic and divided so it couldn't mount a defense when the fleet finally arrived.
Evans even had that ship, the Judgment Day, right? Communicating directly with the Trisolarans.
Exactly. Intercepting their communications, but also feeding them highly sensitive intelligence about Earth's weaknesses, our social structures, our military capabilities. They were fully committed to ensuring a swift Trisolaran victory.
So total nihilism applied on a global scale. Okay, then the second faction, the Redemptionists. What was their angle?
The Redemptionists had a different kind of faith. Maybe equally problematic, but different. They agreed humanity had major flaws, serious moral failings. But they didn't believe total destruction was the only answer, or even desirable. They looked at the Trisolarans, presumably technologically and intellectually superior.
And saw mentors.
Teacher? Kind of, yeah. They held on to this hope for peaceful coexistence, maybe even collaboration. They thought, if we can just show the Trisolarans the best parts of humanity, our art, our science, our potential for reason, maybe the aliens would reconsider the whole invasion plan.
So they wanted to redeem humanity in the eyes of the invaders?
Exactly. They saw the contact not as guaranteed doom, but as this potential opportunity for humanity to be guided, maybe even saved from itself, by a wiser, older civilization.
Wow. That's a profound split. One side actively working for annihilation, the other clinging to this perhaps naive hope in the aliens' potential benevolence.
It's a tragic divide. But notice both factions agree on one thing. Humanity cannot save itself. Both rely on the aliens either as executioners or as saviors to solve Earth's problems.
Yeah, that's a really key insight. If you think about it critically, the ETO shows how, in an existential crisis, the most immediate danger might actually come from those who've completely lost hope in our own species.
Right. The betrayal originates from those who felt betrayed by humanity first. The ETO factions prove that the real battleground isn't just against the aliens, it's within ourselves. Against that despair, those deep fault lines that already exist.
Okay, so by the end of the first book, the world's leaders, the powers that be, they finally grasp the concrete reality of the threat.
Yeah, the denial phase is over. The invasion fleet is confirmed. Its trajectory is calculated. The timeline is established.
And that timeline is...
roughly 450 years, give or take.
Yeah.
Which, on the surface, 4.5 centuries. That sounds like a huge amount of time.
Generations to prepare, right. Develop tech, build defenses.
And governments immediately start thinking that way.
Yeah.
Long-term planning for this future war begins.
But the Sophons.
But the Sophons, that 450-year breathing room, it's basically rendered a mirage. The real psychological barrier, the real strategic barrier, is the immediate chilling knowledge that the Sophons' constant all-seeing surveillance is happening right now.
There's no time to waste, but also no way to prepare in secret.
Precisely. The Trisolarans, through the Sophons, have achieved total information dominance and technological paralysis before the first shot is even fired, metaphorically speaking.
That invisible muzzle you mentioned.
Yeah. If you're designing a top-secret weapon, the Sophons see the blueprints, they can sabotage the prototypes, they relay the info instantly. If military leaders are meeting in a secure bunker, the Sophons are effectively listening in.
What does that mean for, huge long-term projects, building a massive space fleet or defense stations?
It means the Trisolarans know about it from day one. From the first budget allocation, the first design sketch. They have 450 years to adapt their own fleet strategy, their own tactics, to perfectly counter whatever Earth manages to build.
So humanity is tactically neutered before the main fleet has even crossed the first light year.
Pretty much. And this is why the novel really hammers home the theme of the fragility of scientific progress.
How science itself can be attacked.
Exactly. The Sophons demonstrate that fundamental science isn't some immutable bedrock. Really advanced technology can destabilize the very laws of physics you rely on for defense. They don't need bombs, they just need to inject noise into the system, make empirical research impossible.
If you can't trust your experiments, you can't innovate.
You can't build the next generation of anything, really.
And then there's that other huge theme, human self-destruction.
Oh, absolutely. Yi Wenji's original motivation, the whole existence of the ETO, it just underscores how internal human cruelty, our own despair and infighting, can be a bigger, more immediate threat than the aliens themselves.
We essentially started this war against ourselves, didn't we? Out of our own historical traumas and ideological conflicts.
The novel strongly suggests that the real test isn't just fighting aliens. It's overcoming our own capacity for self-loathing, our cynicism.
Which feeds right into that final big theme, the vast loneliness of cosmic civilization.
Yeah, Lou Sixon just throws out the optimistic Star Trek view, doesn't he? First contact here isn't a moment of wonder and celebration.
No, it's a collision.
A collision between one civilization that's desperately dying, Trisolaran, and another that's fundamentally flawed and capable of profound self-betrayal, Earth. The universe, in this story, isn't friendly or waiting to be explored. It's cold, indifferent, and frankly, incredibly dangerous.
The survival odds look almost insurmountable by the end of this first book. We've covered the historical betrayal, the bizarre physics of Trisolaran, the sheer technological terror of the Sophons, and that deep ideological war within humanity itself, the Adventists versus the Redemptionists.
Yeah, the three-body problem really forces you to redefine what an existential threat even means. It's not just about the size of the alien fleet, it's about their ability to control information, to destroy faith and knowledge, and to exploit the cracks that are already present in our own species.
It definitely sets the stage for a conflict that's going to span centuries, dimensions. It's epic, and it leaves us, and you listening, with a really provocative thought to chew on.
Right. So if your civilization's only chance of survival hinges on achieving absolute strategic secrecy, like total secrecy, against an enemy that can literally see and hear everything you do, everything you plan.
What did it have to give up?
Exactly. What societal structures, what ethical norms, maybe even what forms of basic communication would you have to immediately abandon or radically change just to even begin to think about mounting a defense?
If the enemy can read your mind, essentially the moment you have an idea, how do you learn to plan without thinking? How do you strategize in silence?
That's the 450-year puzzle facing humanity.
A truly mind-bending challenge. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Trisolaran. We'll see you next time.